Hey YouTube, Kira Qualia here, bringing you guys my Spike Brothers standard deck profile for August 2018. This is the second deck from the Destructive Roar that I'll be giving you guys a deck profile for. Big shout out to my girlfriend Marissa for helping with this deck. This is actually her deck, as I said in my pack openings for the Destructive Roar. I was only really focusing on one deck per set to build, but I got plenty of friends who were building the other decks, and they agreed that when they finished the deck, that they would obviously let me show it for a deck profile on the channel. So after this, we're hoping to help with my friend Anthony to get the Tachikaze deck profile. But this is a really fun deck, just like the theme of Spike Brothers. It goes with the calling of different units from the deck to the field for powerful attack plays, and also for building up the soul for a couple other different effects. So let's go ahead and get started with the deck profile. So for your main grade 3, I run 4 General Seyfried. With this card, its effect is you can counterblast 1, put a rear guard into your soul. You search your deck for up to 1 card with the same card name as that. Put it into your as you put into soul for the cost. Call it to rear, and that unit and this unit get plus 10,000 to the end of the turn. And then you shuffle your deck. So it's really powerful since you just bump up those attack boosts with this card, and it's sometimes definitely needed because with the other effect it has on Vanguard, it's when an attack hits, you Soul Blast 2, stand one of your other rear guards, choose one of your opponent's rear guards, and retire it. So all that soul buildup definitely does come in handy with this card when you're going for the retire effect, which definitely does come in handy. And the fact that you can recall other units, one example is when you're going up against Mega Colony and they use Hercules to minus your monster's attack, you can make up for it with the force markers you get from General Seyfried, and the fact that the new unit you're going to be calling in will have its original power, and the fact that he will give this unit and that unit boost power. So depending if that unit's going to be for boosting or just for a separate attack, you'll be able to regain a lot of your attack confidence with this card. And it's the main grade 3 you want to ride on Vanguard most of the time. The second grade 3 I run is 4 Juggernaut Maximum with this card. Its effect is when placed, this unit gets plus 10,000 until the end of the turn. At the beginning of your main phase, put this unit into your soul, search your deck for up to 1 Juggernaut Maximum, call it to rear, and shuffle your deck. So this card shares a theme with some other cards, which we'll get to in the deck profile, but it's just a very powerful card, especially with the force marker being able to hit 33,000 total. And then the cost is just putting into the soul, which makes up for it compared to the old Juggernaut Maximum, because with that one you would obviously just Soul Blast and return to the deck. This one builds up soul to use with cards like Seyfried, and then also so you can just call out new ones for the same concept, like against Mega Colony. If they minus your unit put into the soul, it's a definite one I always end up going for on the attack, just to get rid of so they don't benefit from that power boost again next turn, since it only keeps the plus 10,000 until the end of the turn. And that's it for the grade 3s. Moving on to the grade 2s, I run 4 Spikedown Sir. Now with this card, when it's placed, you counterblast 1, Soul Blast 1, look at the same number of cards on the top of your deck as your Vanguard's grade, call up to 1 from among them to rear, and put the rest on the bottom of the deck in any order. It's great because it just helps with consistent rear guards, so you can keep up hand consistency, just having Spikedown Sir being able to call out something better from the top 3 you reveal, since obviously most of the time you will be at grade 3 when you use this card, so you'll have plenty of options to grab something good off of the search. And at the end of the battle that it attacked, you can counterblast 1, put this unit into your soul, draw a card. So another good protection from like Kagero, putting into the soul, keep it safe there, and then just draw cards for hand consistency. This card just answers both of those problems with both of its effects. And I also run 4 high-speed Brockie. Couldn't remember the first part of his name. When it's placed, this is just like Juggernaut Maximum, except the grade 2 version, which I think is very funny because they basically did the same thing with the old unit, since Brockie and Juggernaut Maximum shared the same abilities basically from their old cards related. So it gets plus 10 till the end of the turn. At the beginning of your main phase, put this unit into your soul, search your deck for up to 1 high-speed Brockie, and you call it to your rear until the and then you shuffle your deck. So it's great because you can just shuffle through your Brockies again. The only difference obviously it shares from Juggernaut Maximum is Juggernaut Maximum's first effect is for Vanguard or rear guard. So if you do have to ride this card, you will get the force marker obviously, and you also will get the power boost. But Brockie just comes in handy on that rear guard for sure. Plus being the force deck, it has that 10k, so good ride target just like all the other grade 2s that we run in the deck. And lastly, for the final, grade 2, 2 Treasured Black Panther. When it attacks, you can Soul Blast 1. It gets +5 or +15 until the end of the battle. If it got +15, you put this unit into your soul at the end of the battle. So you don't really search off cards off of Treasured Black Panther. That's why I'm only running 2 of this card. But you do get the power options to decide what you want to do. And you can build up soul if you need it for some of your other effects. But like I said, you really don't gain much if you have to go big for the +15. Which a lot of times, if you attack with another unit first and you still have this, if your opponent gets a trigger and you don't have the boost or a force marker ready to go, sometimes you just have to go for that +15 to make this attack hit. And that's it for grade 2s. Moving on to the grade 1s, I run 4 Gyroslinger. When it's placed, you put a card from your hand into your soul. Look at the same number of cards from the top of your deck as your Vanguard's grade. Call up to 1 from among them to the rear, and put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. And the call unit gets +5. So this card really does help. It's like a mini Spikedown Sir, just with no counterblast. You have to, put a card in your hand to your soul. So it's a little more costly, but you still get the options to call something better than what the card you had in your hand would have been if you decide to call that card to the field. And the +5 definitely does help. You just reach so many big numbers with this deck and your force markers and your Spike Brother units in general that it definitely does come in handy. And I also run 4 Commander Gary Gannon. With this, when I attack that it boosted hits a Vanguard, put this unit into your soul, draw 2 cards, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. So it's just basically sifting through cards in the deck for draw. And like every card basically in this deck, it helps with the soul power boost for sure to make use of. So can't really go wrong here with Gary Gannon for sure, just for that ability alone. And I also run 4 Wonder Boy. I love that they kept Wonder Boy and 8k power, just like his original. When placed, you put a non-grade 1 from your drop zone onto the bottom of your deck, and this unit gets +5 until the end of the turn. And at the beginning of your main phase, put this unit into your soul, search your deck for up to 1 Wonder Boy, call it to your rear, and shuffle your deck. So it's basically like the mini version of High Speed Brockie and Juggernaut Maximum, just for the put into soul and call. But it doesn't really get the power up. It just has that great recycling for the +5, not +10 option, of course, but being able to put back non-grade 1 units to reuse from your drop zone, let's say like you guarded with them or they were retired, and then just having more options to use with some of your bigger cards is why this card is very important in the deck. So you always have options for the search with some of your other ones like Brockie or Juggernaut, depending on when they go into the soul. And lastly, for the grade 1s, I run 2 White Tight End. When it attacks, if you have 4 more rear guards, this unit gets +10 to the end of that battle. So very, very easy to use. Most of the time, with all the calling you can do, you'll have those 4 rear guards. The +10, making it 28k if you have a force marker on that same spot as well, making it able to hit plenty of Vanguards. And if it's a grade 3, obviously your opponent will have to guard more than just a critical trigger. They'll have to throw down a heal or an additional card as well to block that attack. And that is it for the grade 1s. Moving on to the grade 0s. For your starter, Mecha Trainer, pretty obvious. This is the only starter that they have that they can run, like most of the decks. Also, trying 1 Cheer Girl Frannie. You put this unit into your soul and put a card from your drop zone on the bottom of your deck to countercharge 1. You do counterblast quite a lot with some of your effects in this, so just having some countercharge options like this card definitely does come in handy, especially if you can call her out and then use her effect to make use of, because sometimes you could just be 1 counterblast short when you're going for your plays, and then you want to rely on her for sure to get that counter charge off. And then also for the triggers, I run 6 critical, so 3 Sonic Breaker, and also 3 Silence Joker. I thought it very funny that they didn't give Silent Joker, but they're not really giving any triggers effects. But I run 6 critical because I also run 6 draw triggers. I run 4 of the Cheer Girl Marilyn. This is the perfect guard, like all the decks that come out with their sets. Just good there for that. And I also run 2 Cheerful Links. I run 6 crit, 6 draw, just to help with hand consistency with this deck, because with this deck you do invest a lot with your field for your plays, so you don't really have much to go off of for, hand. So these draw triggers definitely do come in handy. You don't need crits as much as them, just because you can rely on the sheer force of your attacks that are going off. The crits are just an added pressure bonus for sure, but they're not like a guaranteed win that you need for cards like Waterfall and Kagero. And just the multiple attacks don't really go off as much since it's not an Excel unit. It's kind of like its own type of, play on the deck for those force. In a way, it relates to Royal Paladin a lot. lot. And lastly, to finish off, just the 4 heals, of course. This is probably one of my favorite heals that we have so far. Cheer Girl Tiara, just because they gave us, one of the, best looking heals for Spike Brothers to run with this deck. I kind of wish we would have gotten, like a Dragon Dancer or something like that for Kagero, but maybe in the next set we'll see, some different heal triggers reprinted. But yeah, that is it for the deck profile. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Once again, I really do like this deck. After, testing it out myself, Mega Colony is still my #1 choice, but I would like to say that all 3 of the decks from Destructive Roar have great potential on their own for sure, but I think the most powerful one is the next deck profile coming up, which is Tachikaze, so definitely stay tuned for that. And once again, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, and until next time, Kira Qualia out.